Well, good morning, all. Let's bring the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone, and to all of you who have taken time to join us this morning, in particular to our wonderful staff and to my fellow directors. Welcome to the RTO 9 Annual General Meeting. I think it's a most optimistic time for our meeting as we head into what we all expect to be a very successful 2023 season. I think it already has been successful, certainly from my vantage point, but I'm really excited about how busy the rest of the year looks. I think we all want this year to make significant strides on that road to recovery. And certainly, as I said, I think this is going to be a step in the right direction this year. And before we hear about the contributions the RTO has made, in particular, I want to particularly thank Bonnie and her team for what has been a couple of years of disruption and change and needing to be flexible and use words like pivot and those kinds of things. And I think that they've done a marvelous job in making sure that we've worked not only on the strength of the organization in that time, but also on the strength and in supporting our partners and destinations. So thank you very, very much for all that you've done. Before we dive into the business of the meeting, we will take a moment to acknowledge the earliest stewards of our region and honor their legacy of contribution. We acknowledge that the land we identify as RTO 9 is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Huron-Wendat peoples. RTO 9 and the Indigenous Tourism Ontario honor and respect the land, the people, and the treaties. We are extremely thankful for the original tour guides of these lands and all that they have shared. All those that reside, work, and play on these lands are treaty people, and we must honor the treaties in a mutually beneficial and equitable manner. With 1 in 5 Indigenous peoples in Canada living in Ontario, we believe working together in a mutually beneficial manner will help all Ontarians prosper through the joint development of the tourism industry. Ontario is home to one of the largest Indigenous tourism industries in Canada, and RTO 9 and ITO are pleased to be working side by side together under an MOU to help advance Indigenous tourism industry in Ontario. As an ally to Indigenous people and a partner of Indigenous Tourism Ontario, RTO 9 will commit to improving the socioeconomic conditions of Indigenous peoples through tourism by creating space for Indigenous people to tell their stories on their terms. Thank you, and we'll move to the agenda. Our intention today is to give you an update on the work the board and the operations team has been doing all year through the review of some bylaw changes and updates that the board has undertaken. Bonnie and her team will provide us with, I think, what is a fairly impressive and comprehensive review of the activities they've undertaken. Kevin will provide us from his seat as treasurer with the financial report. And then we will introduce the new slate of board of directors. Sad to say, but we have 5 members of the current directors team whose terms have come to an end and whose contributions have been immeasurable through some very difficult times. And we will be saying thank you and goodbye to them and welcoming in 5 new board members to replace them. So if I could call for a motion from a director to approve the agenda as posted. Thank you. I did see Kevin's hand go up, and Sherry, thank you for second. Much appreciated. Any discussion on the agenda? All right, all those in favor of the agenda as presented? And any opposition? Okay, seeing and hearing no opposition, we'll declare that motion approved. Thank you. Meg, if I can get you to move to the next slide. Thank you. I wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk to the wider group. The board folks are well aware of what has gone on and the changes. They've been intimately involved in making these changes. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what we've been working on from a strategy and governance perspective, because I think it will help position some of the later conversations that we're going to have in the AGM much better. Coming out of the disruption, which will go unnamed, the board of directors recognized an opportunity to evolve the role of the board and to perhaps get into alignment with where not-for-profit boards were going around us. Specifically, we found that we were often in the weeds of the work of the operations team and not necessarily focused on the strength of the organization or the strategy moving ahead. We also wanted to expand the pool of talented candidates that we could select from and more effectively reflect the demographic makeup of our partners and our travelers, while ensuring that we had the broad geographical representation from across the region. Having worked with other RTOs, and I'm actually currently a board member with another RTO, this is perhaps, with the exception of Northern Ontario, which covers an enormous amount of space, our region is probably as diverse as just about any other one, with the quality of the attractions, the differences in the regions, the number of municipalities, the number of partners that are in the tourism space. And so making sure that we could broaden the representation became a really important conversation. Lastly, we also felt that the way in which we went about our business could open us up to the perception of conflict of interest or duty in the way in which we were structured. So with those sort of large objectives in mind, we followed a process which I think is probably will make a ton of sense to people, is that we found somebody in this space who specialized in not-for-profit boards, and we worked with them to develop a set of recommendations. So we engaged a firm, a boutique consulting firm called Laraday. And Laraday conducted interviews, they examined our bylaws, they spoke with our partners, they spoke with directors, looked at all of our procedures, both operationally and from the governance side of things, the board side of things. And they made a host of recommendations based on these findings, which we spent time reviewing. If we go up to 30,000 feet, so I don't bore you to tears with sort of the minutia that goes on here, we worked in two parallel streams. One was an operational stream. So how do we help Bonnie and her team strengthen the foundation that they have? And then a strategy and governance stream, which was really about the board of directors and our policies, procedures, et cetera, et cetera. The operational stream was the first stream to be actioned and enacted. It involved, in specific, the creation of more communication tools and processes with our partner destinations, and an update to policies and procedures that really brought us into line with what's happening with not-for-profits today. All of these changes were really designed to improve communication to and from our partners, and to make sure that we had a strong operational foundation to work from for years to come. So in short, we strengthened the operational foundation of the RTO, and we updated our approach to reflect the latest best practices. The second stream then was on governance and board structure. And what I'm going to try and do is just provide you a short summary of the 5 or 6 most substantial changes to the bylaws and provide you with a sense of how we approach the changes and why. So first off, I had mentioned when I opened this part of the conversation that we were looking to make a renewed focus on strategy and governance. Really what Laraday did a wonderful job of helping us understand was to put in perspective in sort of simple ways what the real duty of a director in a not-for-profit like ours would be. And they summarized it this way. They said, you have a duty of oversight, which is to make sure that the organization is being run based on its basic principles, to make sure that we're financially responsible, to make sure that from a human resources perspective, things are appropriate, that it's a good place to work, that the team is well managed and well treated, and that you're staying consistent with ensuring that the changes that the ministry may wish to make or the changes that are necessitated by what's going on are done in an equitable and reasonable manner. So that's the duty of oversight. The second thing was insight. And how do we use the diverse group of people we have, their different experiences and skills. How do we have them bring those to the table so that we have insight into what's going on right now on the ground? And not necessarily just on the ground in tourism, but also what's happening with transportation, what's happening with communications, what's happening with education, because all of these things obviously have tremendous impact on our business. And then the third duty, so that would be insight. The third duty was foresight. And that is how, in a strategic role, how does the board do a better job of looking 2, 3, 5 years into the future and helping the operations team prepare for or build foundations in order to be successful in the future? And that involves, ensuring that we have talent and ability and access, and that we broaden even the ability of the board to bring in individuals for special projects or for short-term positions to help us handle a specific problem or issue. So a lot of what we're going to talk about in terms of what of these sort of key changes comes from really how do we improve our ability to share insight, and how do we improve our ability to have foresight into what the future is going to look like. From an oversight perspective, Lara Day was very confident in our ability to have supported the current strength of the organization. And so really our opportunity was, how do we set ourselves up for future success? So one of the most dramatic changes then was in recruiting. Previously, when the RTOs were set up, more than 10 years ago, there was no playbook to set them up. And so the group that was pulled together to set up the RTO and form its initial set of bylaws did a very logical thing. They looked at the most impactful destinations and municipalities and awarded those municipalities seats. Logical, worked very well for us moving forward. This existing board, though, recognized that in quantifying or being very specific about those seats, that we were missing important opportunities from around the rest of the region. Certain areas didn't have an opportunity to have a representative come and share information and share their insight and foresight about their specific region or destination. So by naming Brockville, to use my hometown, as having a seat, it necessitated the fact that perhaps we didn't have Prescott or Kemptville or other important destinations able to participate on the board. We also recognized that it was extremely important that we wanted the broad perspective from across the region to continue. We wanted to protect that representation, from a region that spans, quite honestly, from essentially the Trenton area all the way to the Quebec border, and then north along the Rideau Canal, bordering up on Ottawa. So a significant size, a significant number of a significant population, and a significant economic impact in our region. So to balance those two things, rather than look at specific municipalities, the board determined that it made a lot of sense to look at 3 regions, one being an east region that would run essentially Leeds and Grenville all the way to the Quebec border, a central region that would recognize Kingston and Frontenac County as being the significant population center and a big economic driver, and then a west region, which would be Lennox and Addington all the way west to Bay of Quinte. In doing that, then, we were able to cast a much wider net for talent within the region and open up the opportunity that perhaps areas that haven't always had the opportunity to share insight and foresight would have the ability to do that. In addition to making the geographical change, we developed a much stronger sense of what skills, talents, and abilities we were looking for, including the conversations and the changes that have been made relative to looking for different demographics, making sure that our board was less homogenous perhaps than it had been in the past, looking for people who may be outside of the tourism sector as people who could contribute significantly, in particular around oversight, insight, and foresight, who could offer a different perspective. looking for individuals who perhaps weren't in the region specifically, and using some of our at-large positions to look for people or individuals who might come from one of our big source markets or be experts in their area, even though they weren't resident in our particular region. So we thought broadening the ability for us to look for talent would only strengthen the board of directors. And I can certainly say to you, the individuals that have come on to the board in this time and the ones that will recommend or are being recommended to come to the board are great examples of broadening that reach and bringing different perspectives to the table. The definition of membership has changed. As I said, there was no playbook when the RTOs were set up. I was actually participating with Ottawa at the time. And as a result of that, lots of different things were contemplated. So the idea of having members contemplated the possibility that there might be pay for play, that you might actually have a membership fee. And as it evolved, we never went down that road and don't foresee that happening in terms of the way the funding and the organizations are set up. And frankly, in terms of the way in which our particular RTO and the other RTOs have worked, they've proven themselves effective without the need for membership from that standpoint. So one of the changes that we enacted was to redefine the members to reflect the directors on the board. And this would allow the board itself to be able to fill vacancies that would come up or to be able to enact changes that were sensible based on the operating conditions that were in place. And so that membership definition, membership and director, have become somewhat synonymous in terms of how we will use them going forward. Well, one of the big changes, and was a great conversation with many of the directors around the table, was the possibility and frankly memorializing that possibility of including non-directors in future projects and committee work. I think the thinking was that if we were serious about becoming more focused on insight and oversight, that as a project, an issue, or a need came up, the ability to bring in some of the talented people around us who may not have time or the opportunity to be a director, but who could add significant contribution to what we were doing was critical for us. And so for some of you who are on the call, the reach out may come at some point based on your expertise, your understanding of your region, a unique set of skills. We may be inviting you to come and participate for short or perhaps even medium term projects as we try and really accentuate the ideas of having insight and foresight about where we take or where the strategy of the RTO goes. We also created 2 standing committees, which I think they existed to a certain standpoint, but I think it became clearer and clearer to all of us that we needed to formalize these committees, create terms of reference for these committees, and use them on a more regular basis. One committee will be focused specifically on governance and recruiting, so that we're always recruiting for talented people, or if we are looking for individuals from the previous point that would be non-directors to assist, that group of people would have the ability to research that. And we also recognized that we needed to make sure that we were regularly, after we made all of these governance changes, that we were regularly going to be looking at our bylaws and policies and procedures at the board level and making sure that they were always up to speed. So this was a relatively exhaustive amount of work that the directors did in order to make the changes we had, because we had only made minor changes since the initial setup of those bylaws. So this was our hope is that work will become easier as the governance and recruiting committee works. The second committee that we formalized and created new terms of reference for is a finance committee. So where we typically would have relied on the treasurer almost uniquely to have the initial oversight and role there, we've broadened that to include a few other people on that committee so that we have, again, more talent looking at opportunity for us as it relates to finances. So those were the big changes. There were a number of things like more explicitly defining when and how meetings can occur, including things like the ability for an electronic meeting to be recognized as a formal directors meeting. We gave, I think importantly, looked at flexibility, that if we felt like it was important to grow the board of directors beyond its sort of target number, that we had that ability. That if our region changed perhaps, or that we saw an opportunity to bring talent in, that we had some flexibility. So there's a little bit more leeway there. And a number of other, changes to make sure that we aligned all of the wording. And then of course, and this is not a bullet that's up on your screen, but all of then the policies and procedures that needed to change as a result of this have also been altered. And so that we have brought our policies and procedures up to sort of best in class or best in practice for not-for-profits at this point in time. So, that's a fairly quick summary of what went on. What I should say to you are, for those of you who weren't involved in the work, this was a tremendous amount of work and conversation and passion by the board of directors in order to do this. This is not fun work, in that, it involves a lot of legalese. It involves conversations with, consultants like Laradie. It involves having these things vetted through legal. It involves lots of back and forth. But I just want to thank my fellow directors for their patience and their diligence. And as I said, a lot of passion in making sure that we came out of these conversations with what we believe to be a much better mousetrap. So sincerely, from my position as chair during this time, I thank you sincerely for all that effort. Thank you. Meg, I know that we have the ability to take questions from any of the attendees via the chat function. Are there any questions relative to the bylaw changes or updates that any of our participants have?
I see none, Sean.
Okay, so please don't hesitate. If you did have a question, please don't hesitate to post that up there. We can loop back at the end of the presentations and answer any of those. And of course, I would take any questions offline as well if anybody wanted more information on anything specific. Okay. Well, thank you for your patience with that particular portion. What I'm going to do then is hand over to Bonnie for a review of the 2022-2023 initiatives. And as I said earlier, and I'll say it again now, I am grateful as a tourism operator and in awe of some of the things that we were able to enact and that the operations team were able to do. And I want to thank each one of them. And I also want to, in particular, thank Lindsay Medeiros, who's leaving us very shortly, staying in the family within the region, but leaving us. I want to thank Lindsay for her fantastic contributions. You do things that I don't even understand, but we can very much see the impact of, and then have made a huge difference, not just to the profile of the RTO, but to the individual operators and partners in each of our destinations. I know what you have done has created a foundation that never could have been done without you. So sincerely, thank you, Lindsay. Bonnie, over to you.
Thanks, Sean. Good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to take a moment to thank our board of directors for all their support and guidance to the organization over the past fiscal year and years, for those who have been on for a few years. Next, I'd like to thank the staff as well. So Steve, Meg, and Lindsay, for all your hard work over the past couple of years. It's been wonderful. And yeah, I have to ditto Sean's comments. Lindsay's going to be tremendously missed. This was a new position for the RTO 5 years ago, and Lindsay just ran with it from the beginning. So we've been extremely happy to have her on board, and we are glad that she's just staying in Prince Edward County and she's not far away. So that's wonderful. And I'd like to also thank Mia Robertson and Kim Hewitt from the ministry for all the support they provide to the RTO throughout the year. And last, but of course not least at all, our 10 destinations who make our job easy, working with you every day, and our stakeholders. Without you, the RTO wouldn't be here. So thank you all very much. Today's presentation is going to be a high overview of some of the initiatives that we've covered. You're not going to see everything. There's more that we do than what we're putting on the slides, but we only have an hour, so we're just going to get through as much as we can. So this, the information you're going to see is, for the most part, is reflective of our 2022-23 fiscal year. And and the 5 pillars, sorry, are the pillars that are set out by the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport that we're going to go through today. So, okay, we'll start with product development. So the objective of product development is to enhance visitors' experiences through well-designed tourism products that meet current and future consumer demand. So we undertook some of these initiatives that we're going to talk about today. So we created a product development committee to discuss opportunities for new product initiatives that were needed in the region. The committee members included individuals from a variety of sectors, so an Indigenous travel company, Parks Canada, and Ontario by Bike. The committee suggested focus on the future on assisting in developing authentic Indigenous experiences, including Indigenous culinary initiatives, opportunities that would be made available to connect operators with Parks Canada, Ontario Parks, and Parks of the St. Lawrence. And we're currently working with the Great Lakes Waterfront Trail on a ride coming through the region in August of 2023. So part of assisting our stakeholders with product development is providing them with the tools they need through a variety of workshops. So last fiscal year, we hosted 17 workshops between April 2022 and March of 2023. So a few of these included business transitions, succession planning, managing the mental health of your employees, planning safe events and festivals, working with tour operators to build multi-day experiences, tapping into the $12 billion LGBTQ+ tourism market, and how to use video content to connect with your target market. Another initiative we undertook was itineraries. Just go back to the back of slide, Meg, thank you. So we developed signature seasonal itineraries, incorporating 2 or 3 destinations. And the itineraries were built for 2 to 3 night overnight stays. So we worked with our destinations to build the content and new tourism products to be included in these itineraries. So in the spring, we focused on things such as cycling, food, wine, and art. In the summer, we focused on diving, getting out on the water, and summer drives. And in the fall, we chose nature lovers escapes and family fun. And our winter focus was on holiday travels and getaways in the winter. So all our itineraries are posted on the Southeastern Ontario consumer website. Based on the success of a regional film initiative in the fiscal year 21-22, we entered into another agreement with Tourism Kingston for our last fiscal year. And what they covered during that agreement was they photographed 50 new locations and they added them to the Ontario database. Promotion of Southeastern Ontario was done at various markets, both nationally and internationally, by the Film Office. New handouts and banners were produced using regional images, and a branded event took place at the Toronto International Film Festival. We also have a software program now called Real Scout, and this was acquired, and it's an online database of all the filming locations in Southeastern Ontario. So this is available on the RTO9 website for individuals to take a look at if they're considering filming in Southeastern Ontario. We continue to partner with Indigenous Tourism Ontario through monthly virtual meetings, and we've signed a second MOU with them to continue to develop Indigenous tour operators across the region. So some of the initiatives that we undertook with them last year included current updates to both our industry site and our consumer site, a truth and reconciliation workshop. We've been building relationships with the Akwesasne and the Tyendinaga Council. We've had discussions around of Indigenous culinary in RTO 9. And we also hosted a community tourism awareness workshop with ITO that took place in Tyendinaga. RTO 9 has received their rainbow registration from the Canadian Gay Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, and we're now working on a pilot project with them as the first regional tourism organization to have a regional assessment completed. 3 destinations within RTO 9 have also received their rainbow registration accreditation. And additionally, we have received our equity, diversity, and inclusion certification from the Kingston Workplace Inclusion Charter. So the objective of investment attraction is to increase investment in the tourism industry to enhance our visitors' experiences. So RTO 9 completed phase 1 of an investment attraction plan in 2021-22. We have been back and forth with FedDev to receive funding to continue this plan. So far, we've not been successful, but we are continuing with that relationship. We have also partnered with 3 destinations last year: Frontenac County, Hastings County, and Lennox and Addington, to do an asset inventory. And we will continue our communications with FedDev regarding funding. We continue to collect accommodation data through CBRE. We send the reports out monthly to our destination partners, and the reports can also be found on the industry site, rto9.ca. RTO 9 continues to contract the services of 21 to provide market research, and deliverables last year were a Southeastern Ontario brand insights and travel intentions report. It was completed in early 2023, which presented the results of a quantitative market research study surveying representative samples of travel consumers from Southeastern Ontario, Quebec, and the US Midwest. The survey reports on past visitation, future considerations, brand health, specific activities, and Southeastern Ontario's image. 2031 also developed a report on the economic and market indicators relevant to Southeastern Ontario's tourism economy, and both of these reports are available on our industry site. RTO 9 worked with Stephen Burnett, the Executive Director for the Great Lakes Cruising Association, to assist in the development of a working group to attract additional cruise ships to Southeastern Ontario. The working group consisted of representation from the following destinations: Cornwall, Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry counties, Rockville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Canal Waterways, Thousand Islands, Gananoque, Kingston, and the Bay of Quinte, and the St. Lawrence Parks Commission. We worked collectively to host a fan tour in March of 2023 that included cruise representatives from National Geographic, Fresh Tracks, and Pearl Sea Cruises. We've also developed a page on our industry site, which will provide cruise operators with information on attractions and various things that they can see and do in all of these regions across Eastern Ontario. The objective of workforce development is to facilitate and support the attraction, development, and retention of a tourism workforce to enhance the visitor's experience. So RTO 9 continues to implement the workforce development plan that was created, as well as develop new initiatives such as the EDI training and templates that were developed by Keys. Digital ads were also developed with local tourism businesses to highlight the great reasons to work in tourism in Southeastern Ontario. We facilitated a workshop for employers that included market and social researcher David Coletto, who shared his data and perspectives on how generational and technological change, along with the pandemic, is changing a worker's perspective on work and life, and what this means for operators and businesses in the tourism and hospitality industry. We will continue to work with Keys on an initiative that will provide employers with support and the tools they need to address equity, diversity, and inclusion in the workplace and hiring practices. In partnership with St. Lawrence College, a mobile training unit was built to visit high schools to encourage students to enter in the tourism field as a career. We also partnered with Skills Ontario to provide discovery days, which were careers in skilled trades and technologies. 2 events were held, one at Upper Canada Village and one at Fort Henry. These live sessions brought together tourism-related skilled trade and technology professionals and hundreds of students from Kingston, Brockville, Cornwall, and Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry regions for a common goal. We were trying to inspire youth to make skilled trades and technologies their first choice as career options. And we'll also continue with the OTEC regional working groups, which meet on a regular basis to discuss and share ideas around workforce development. Now I'm going to turn the marketing portion over to Steve Weir.
Thanks, Bonnie. RTO 9's main objective for marketing for 2022-23 was to maintain and increase awareness of Southeastern Ontario and RTO 9 as a travel destination and increase conversion in target markets through several initiatives. Some of these initiatives included the implementation of a partnership framework, the Drive for Excellence program, FAM tours and media relations, paid media, marketing campaigns for Southeastern Ontario in partnership with Destination Ontario. 3 campaigns specifically: cruise campaign, arts and culture campaign, and wellness campaign. Next slide, please. As part of RTO's enhanced communication efforts and based on information gathered through our destination communication survey and the partnership framework RTO 9 received from Laraday Consulting earlier in 2022, we implemented a destination communication piece that was sent out to all DMOs and DMPs bi-weekly. 18 destination communication pieces went out between the end of July 2022 and March 29, 2023. Additionally, we set up team meetings with each destination to discuss any partnership opportunities and to learn more about how we as an organization can help each destination in our region. For destinations that wanted to hear from RTO 9 on a more regular basis, we also set up information sessions every couple months. An in-person destination communication meeting took place in February. Also, RTO 9's digital marketing manager, Lindsay, continued to share information through our industry and consumer newsletters. These newsletters go out on a monthly basis. We ask that each destination share this information with its partners and stakeholders through their communications, whether electronic communications or during in-person meetings. Next slide, please, Meg. The Drive for Excellence program was a progressive tourism development support program designed to maximize economic impact and long-term value for each destination in the region, allowing destinations to self-identify their current readiness and needs. Some of the projects included for the Bay of Quinte content creation and digital asset development, curated by Bay of Quinte. Prince Edward County worked with Search Warrant on digital advertising. Frontenac County created content, digital asset development, and an experiential workshop. A video content to align with Frontenac County's updated brand expansion. Lennox and Addington digital media campaign through One Idea and Dark Sky Viewing Area project promotion. Kingston Expedia contract through the Kingston Airport. Thousand Islands Gananoque brought in influencers and PR media FAM tours through Tartan Bond and a digital marketing campaign. Brockville had content creation and influencers and PR come through their region as well, with a focus on winter wellness marketing campaign support program. Cornwall brought in influencers and PR media through Tartan Bond and created content digital asset development. SDG Counties, a media plan was created and implemented through Alphabet Creative. And finally, Thousand Islands and Rideau Canal Waterways, the implementation of their new development strategy, supported 2 new adventure experiences, Fresh Baked Adventure and Food Shop Adventures, along with a garden trail in Leeds and Grenville. Next slide, please. RTO 9 was able to host a number of FAM tours through the entire region through 2020-2023, as well as partner with various destinations to bring in additional media to the region. Some of the highlights included a binational FAM tour in partnership with Thousand Islands International Tourism Council on the US side. Tours through Kingston and Thousand Islands and Upper New York State highlighted the ease in crossing the border, and we hosted 3 personalities: one writer from the Toronto Star, a freelance journalist from the Canadian Geographic, and an editor from CAA. Our RTO 9 also partnered with Cornwall, Brockville, and Thousand Islands Gananoque to bring additional media to these destinations through the Drive for Excellence program and with the coordination with our PR team at Tartan Bond. Additionally, Alicia Wade and Kirsten Wendlat were brought into Southeastern Ontario to experience small holiday towns. The influencers stayed in Brockville and traveled and discovered and posted about Marrickville, Westport, Gananoque, Kemptville, Morrisburg, as well as doing researching for these towns and villages for Kirsten's blog post, 13 Magical Christmas Towns in Ontario, that will make you feel like you step right back in the Hallmark Christmas movie. In Q4 2022-23, Tartanbon, on behalf of RTO9, participated in the International Media Marketplace in New York City, where a representative met with a total of 25 to 30 media personalities. Connections were made and invitations were sent to media to participate in this year's FAM tour to the region. Our media kit was updated in both official languages for IMM, and it was subsequently has been used for telling the stories of Southeastern Ontario. Next slide, please. RTO9 partnered with Destination Ontario on 3 initiatives last year, the first one being a cruise campaign. The goal of the cruise campaign was to promote the different cruises offered in Southeastern Ontario region and encourage our target audience to book a cruise trip during the campaign period. In partnership with Destination Ontario, the DO campaign ran from May 2nd to June 5th, and campaign metrics were extremely high, outperforming all outdoor product spotlight content due to its targeted messaging from specific products, overnight water cruising in Southeastern Ontario, as well as a day trip cruise opportunity in the Thousand Islands. Overall channel impressions resulted for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram were 6.8 million, with a total 1.5 thousand leads to partners. Next slide, please. The second campaign with DO was our Arts and Culture, which happened in the fall, September 2nd to October 5th. It leveraged aligned partner content and storyteller to inspire travel and direct-to-operator tactics with an overall impressions of 7.5 million, with 114,000 leads to our partners. And the final campaign was a wellness campaign that was in market January 19th through February 19th. And that was with Destination Ontario, RTO9, and Lansby, all partnered on this. And total overall impressions results 6.6 million, with a total lead to partner of 63,000 leads to partners. Next slide, please. In order to support our destination partners in the recovery and rebuilding phases, RTO9 assisted destination partners in marketing efforts, recognizing that each destination's needs vary. For awareness, we work towards creating awareness of Southeastern Ontario as a desirable travel destination by showcasing its unique experience across all destinations and all seasons. This encouraged year-round travel to support the industry's recovery. For engagement, our focus has been on continuing to foster community and pride by providing engaging content that resonates with our target audiences. This resulted in increased links clicked, reactions, comments, followers, and page views. And for conversion, to drive qualified traffic to destinations and operator websites, as well as their social media pages, we utilized a mix of owned and paid media strategies. This helped generate interest and encourage visitors to explore the region further. Our target audiences were connected explorers, mellow vacationers, family memory builders, and knowledge seekers. By understanding their needs and preferences, we tailored marketing efforts to effectively reach and engage these specific groups. Themes included Come Visit Me. This theme targeted the market of visiting families and friends, showcasing the region as an ideal destination for reconnecting with loved ones. The Southeastern Ontario Road Trip emphasized the hidden gems and scenic hideaways of the region. This theme encouraged travelers to explore by car, bicycle, motorcycle, or by RV. And the Getaway to Southeastern Ontario focused on the charm, the simplicity of our quaint towns and villages, and this theme offered a nostalgic trip back in time. Next slide, please. Our primary audience of industry partners and operators hold a direct impact on the tourism industry within RTO9's region. We recognize the importance of engaging other key stakeholders who enable and contribute to the regional tourism industry. We try to consistently apply key messages across our channels to help our desired audiences understand who we are, recognize our values as a trustworthy source, and recognize our inclusion in the Ontario tourism industry. Key messages for RTO 9 include we actively promote tourism in the region and support industry growth through product development initiatives. We represent a collective of tourism industry partners across all sectors within RTO 9 Southeastern Ontario. As an independent industry-led non-for-profit organization, RTO 9 collaborates with tourism partners to enhance and expand tourism products, marketing activities, and investments within the region. We play a pivotal role in building and sustaining competitive and resilient tourism region by stimulating all aspects of tourism, by attracting visitor revenues, and by fostering increased economic activity, including investments in job creation and help contribute to the prosperity of Southeastern Ontario. Our goal will be to continue to enhance awareness of RTO 9, its programs, services, and resources, continue to position RTO as a leading authority in regional tourism in Ontario, as well as encourage newsletter subscriptions, registration, and active participation in webinars, workshops, partnership programs, and events such as this AGM. And now I'll hand it back over to Bonnie at this point.
Thank you, Steve. Partnership funds. So the objective is for RTO 9 to be a catalyst in building strategic alignment and promoting collaboration within the industry. So we had 3 partnership fund categories last year. They were newer enhanced product development, digitizing your business, and newer updated physical signage. We worked with 31 partners to develop and deliver these initiatives. The focus was to work with operators to assist them in increasing their business offerings and opportunities. So a couple examples of these projects were Springfield Farm. So the Field and Feast was a collaboration including the Irish government and the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne. Michelin star chef Dr. J.P. McCahone from Ireland worked in collaboration with Chef Joseph Schwana, Ottawa Nation Chief Chris Commandant Mohawk, and the sous chef Darius White, Mohawk St. Regis territory. The evening saw over 120 guests for a unique culinary experience at Springfield Farm in Apple Hill, Ontario, and it also provided awareness of Southeastern Ontario to these visitors. The second one that we wanted to highlight today was the Tall Ships Festival that took place in Brockville. It was a 3-day event featuring a collection of activities and tall ships for visitors to explore. The event in June saw over 500 festival packages with the aquarium sold and sold out local accommodations for the duration of the festival. I'm going to turn it over to Kevin now to provide our treasurer's report.
Good morning, everyone. It's going to be a tough act to follow. Thanks, Bonnie, and your team for that great update on all the great things you've been up to. So good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin, and that's RTO 9's treasurer. I would like to acknowledge our auditor of record is Secker Ross and Perry, based in Kingston. Tanya Courier is online with us today, and she has completed our audit for the past 11 years. Thanks, Tanya, for your efforts. So for the fiscal year 2022-2023, RTO 9 received $1,390,297 in revenue, funding from the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport. And additionally, another $254,853 came from our Partnership Fund program. Our revenue for the year totaled $1,645,150, and our expenses totaled $1,642,640. Due to unspent accrued wages, there is a repayable of $2,510 due to the ministry. Defined in the operating agreement between the corporation and the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport, signed on April 1st, 2022, the schedule is prepared in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. And you see all the numbers in front of you. And with that, I would ask if we could maybe have a motion to approve the 2022-2023 financial audit. I see Brett's hand and
Heather's waving her hand.
Oh, Heather as well. Sorry, Heather. So we could say Heather and Brett, maybe. Do I call the vote, Sean, or can I leave that to you?
I'll take it over from here. I appreciate the work that you did, sir. As always, a bang up job.
Thank you, Sean.
With that motion in place, any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, I declare that motion carried. And I think the last couple of parts of the agenda actually come to me, if I'm not mistaken. So the first thing I want to do is and I know I've said it before, but it deserves saying again. I want to thank every existing member of the board of directors for their efforts. This is a volunteer job, and it's a job that you know, often comes with lots of slogging and lots of sacrifice and lots of need to put your thinking cap on and think outside of your own operation or your own region or your own business and put the needs of the entire region to the forefront. And I think this group of people has been one of the finest groups of people that I've worked with in terms of their ability to do that. So I want to thank each and every one of them. I specifically just want to thank the 4 board members other than myself, the 4 other ones whose terms are completed. So thank you to Heather Ford. You are, other than being on as many boards as I have been on, because we're usually on the same ones, you're such a great level head to have with us, and we will miss your perspective not only on accommodation but on food and food tourism as we move forward. To Libby, you and I have been on the board for the same amount of time, and I've always enjoyed your perspective. You bring something so important to us, which is the perspective of the park, and your experience has been so valuable to us all the way along. I really have nothing nice to say about Trevor Norris. Except I do love the guy, and thank you for stepping up into the vice chair role recently. I appreciated that support. And you know, Trevor, you will be dearly missed. You are one of the most passionate people and excitable people in tourism, and I love that. I just love that. And then Anne and I have sort of been partners in crime, working in particular, working on a lot of the board changes and a lot of the governance work and those kinds of things. And such a great thinker and such a thoughtful person when it comes to how does tourism drive economic development, and how do we make sure we are thinking about the economic impact of tourism. It's just such a strength to have had Anne with us on our board again as she returned to the board. So thank you so much to each one of you. From my perspective, we've seen a ton of change. We've stopped and started. We've moved. We were disrupted. You know, we were forced to change tactics during the pandemic in order to help destinations you know, be successful, and you know, many things have involved in my time on the board that I am thankful to have been a part of. You know, the success of the partnership funds programming, the growth of the team. You know, Meg has been a great addition in the time that I've worked with her. I'm so sorry to see Lindsay go, but very proud that I had the opportunity to learn from her and work with her. Steve is a rock, and you know, somebody who I you know, tend to communicate with maybe a bit more than the other ones, just because our jobs overlap a little bit, and I'm so appreciative of his effort. And then of course Bonnie, you have been confidant, friend. I've probably annoyed you on more than one occasion from the director's chair. But it's been a great partnership, and I probably won't talk to you as much as we have talked over the last little bit, but I certainly hope that we speak regularly. So thank you to all. And then one last piece of business that we need to do is we need to, as a board, bring on the new directors. So Meg, if I could ask you to flip over. So I'm really excited. The governance and recruiting team did an excellent job in going through what were wonderful applications. The last 2 calls for applications, I should just say, have brought to us so many fantastic candidates. And You know, I think in part that has been the change to us casting a wider net, but I also think it demonstrates how involved people in our sector and now people outside of our sector, how interested they are in helping and volunteering their time to help others be successful. So the recommendations from the Governance and HR Committee are that the following 5 people: Karina Bellinger from the East, Liam Carey from the Central Region, Eleanor Cook from the West, and our 2 at-large positions, Michelle Caron and Karen Best. The recommendation is from the Governance and Recruiting Committee that these directors be appointed for a 3-year term beginning after this AGM. So may I call for a motion from a director to accept that slate? Ann Weir, thank you very much. Cale, thank you for seconding. Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the slate is? Any opposed? Seeing none, I declare the motion carried. And what a wonderful group of folks this is. I know a few of them, and they are going to seamlessly step in and add that oversight, insight, and foresight perspective that we're looking for. So very exciting. I'm almost disappointed to be coming off the board with new talent coming on. So with that, thank you to everybody for participating. Again, thank you so much to my fellow directors. Thank you so much to the staff who have been incredible and continue to drive us forward. And thank you to all of you out there who are continuing to improve our tourism proposition in RTO 9. We're world-class, and we can't let people forget that we're world-class. The attractions, the operators, the destinations are spectacular. And let's hold our head high this summer and hopefully continue to eat into that road that we have to make up given where we've come from. Thank you so much. And as should be noted, we will ask the directors who are continuing their term to stay on with us so that we can look at the election of officers for the coming term. Thank you very much, everybody.
Sean, if I can, on behalf of the board, the existing and leaving board members, thank you for being our leader and navigating this and your time. You're a busy person and truly appreciate your commitment to being chair. As a past chair, I know that how much time that can take. So thank you and congratulations on a successful term.
Thank you, Anne. Very kind.